Welcome back.
Viewer, welcome back, but under rather more sober circumstances than perhaps we might have wished. We were going to be back anyway, but as it is a time of national crisis or sadness, mourning, we broadcast in a suitably somber mood as the proprietorship of the internet transfers from Her Majesty to His Majesty has been ordained in the statutes of the Constitution. And I think since the reign of James I, when the Stuart House took control in the early 17th century at the coronation of King James I and VI of Scotland, as I believe he was, that was when the internet first entered royal possession. Anyway,
here we are, part of a Carolingian era.
We are entering the Carolingian era, or Carolingian era.
Carolingian.
Yes, and Regnante Carolo, or whatever we say.
To remember Our Majesty the Queen, we have La Reina.
It is in honour of Her Majesty that we indeed have this very elegant and very English cigar.
Very much so. Apart from being Cuban.
Apart from being Cuban, as Cuba once was English, I believe.
There you go.
For a very short time. La Reina, regional edition of 2018, I believe.
2018, both of which you and I, and of course our dear friend, who's the boxing guy that we love, you know, with the lisp, Chris Eubank, he was there as well.
Yes, at the launch of this in the Churchill smoking area of the Churchill
we met
Hotel.
him, and he had these kind of very pointy cowboy boots, and you told him how much of a fan you were.
I am a great fan of his, and I'm a great fan of this
cigar.
Despite
the fact you'd only known of him as I told you, he'd entered the room and explained who he was.
Yes, but doesn't he drive a truck as well?
No, he's sold it. I think he's got a Rolls Royce now.
That's
he drives
very
fast, but he's a very good man.
He's a very nice chap, I find.
Yeah, good man. But that was also the La Reina release was alongside also the 1790 Hunter's Reserve Humidor selection. You know,
I remember that. That sort of multiple choice mixed assortment, lucky dip.
They got some great stuff in there. And
what is the best thing in there?
Like £1 million. I don't know. I mean, I haven't had really the opportunity to try any of them. They're all a little pricey, no doubt very good, but there were those Particus du Connoisseur number 3s, I think, which was a very small, like a Suane, like an Exquisito.
That's exactly the kind of size we like.
That's a proper cigar, and those were delicious.
Unfashionable, hard to find.
And they were from 1999.
God, that's a proper time. Makes you wonder. Makes you long for a Punch Ninfas or a Rey del Mundo Elegante or something like that.
Yes, or a Rafael Gonzalez
Slenderella.
Those are the best. So
those are the best. But anyway,
following this theme, we have a slender gauge, of course.
We have a slender gauge to remember a slender woman in her portrait here by Antigone. I think she was photographed, and if that is maybe, I don't know which cape that. No, which cape is that?
It's a very good one.
I don't know. Well, the viewer, who's obviously up on heraldry and fashion, will tell us whether it's the boat cape that has Beaton photographed her in, or whether it's the garter robes. I probably the garter robes.
What's the tartan only the Queen is allowed to wear, or decides who can wear? Isn't there a tartan? Special tartan?
Could well be.
Why is this so funny? You should know this
I should know these things, but I don't.
You don't know the Queen's tartan. You should call Terry up and ask him.
We should call Terry, but Terry's on holiday.
You should have a suit made of the Queen's tartan.
Well,
Balmoral tartan.
The Balmoral tartan. I should really have that. I should really have something along those lines. But I think have I got? I went now in the sale of the Duke of Windsor's wardrobe. There was an amazing suit in tartan that he wore had tea after shooting, and it was originally, I think, commissioned by George V.
Amazing.
That's a proper suit, viewer. That's a proper suit. But I mean, one thing that by the way, this is smoking rather better than I remember it doing. The 4 years.
I thought it was good initially. There was a point in time where Edward was saying it wasn't so good. He was dissuading people from, not dissuading them, I think he was dissuading from buying them because he wanted them for himself, but also
that's usually Edward. But
dissuading people from smoking them immediately, letting them age.
I think what's nice about this, I'm getting a little bit of light salt on there. Are you getting a bit of saltedness?
Actually, so yeah, very light cigar.
Very light cigar, but with nuances, subtle. It's a subtle cigar. It's not just empty. It's not just an empty vessel of smoke.
No, not at all. Not like the. They're all the rage now, but the Quai d'Orsay is the 50, the 54, and the
Quai d'Orsay. The Quai d'Orsay is the flavor-free cigar in a large format.
It's a flavor-free cigar, and I had a
But that's what you get from using a language of a republican country. This is a proper royal country of a constitutional monarchy.
But you would have thought a brand made in 1773, to be precise, for the French market would be of a stronger blend, considering the population of the country smoked Gauloises and Gitanes. You would have thought it would be...
And Disque Bleu. Don't forget Disque Bleu.
No idea what that is, but
that was another particularly high tar, super strength smoke to be smoked while wearing a blazer, drinking Pernod.
Filter-free, I hope.
While driving a Peugeot.
A Peugeot, well, yeah, that's what we like to hear.
Peugeot truck.
Mm.
Who was the president of France then? Was it Pompidou, Georges Pompidou?
I don't know, I was a good man then.
He was a good man, Georges Pompidou. I think he had 10,000 lines of French poetry in his head at any one time.
It's kind of like you.
No, I got a bit fewer than that. But I wouldn't mind learning the whole of the Fairy Queen, that massive poem by Spenser, and reciting it one long broadcast.
What, in French?
No, in English. It's sort of
both French and English.
Spenser's Fairy Queen.
Translated Japanese as well.
Simultaneous.
Japanese.
Talking of Japan, now you mention the subject. We were supposed to be, viewer, bringing this broadcast to you from the outside broadcasting unit at the Connaught Cigar Hall.
Mm.
But unfortunately, due to Her Majesty's funeral which is taking place, the Emperor of Japan was checking into the hotel, and therefore it was inappropriate for us to film there. But it reminded me that I think the chap who's now the Emperor of Japan, his whatever that would be, I mean, is that His Imperial Majesty, was merely His Imperial and Royal Highness or whatever, or Imperial Highness or whatever, when I think he was at Oxford. And if I remember correctly, although this may be an urban myth, viewer, it was that they invented a degree in medieval water transport for him to study and they'd become a graduate of.
Mm. I think you told me. Were you at Oxford at the same time with him?
It seems that way.
No doubt.
Although the memory does play tricks, and I wasn't, as you know, I was somewhat invigorated through the properties.
I can't remember when you were drinking, nor can I. That was one of your famous quotes. That was a good one as well.
Mm. But let us return to the cigar, because one of the many complaints written by the viewer was that we don't spend enough time talking about the cigar. How's it developing? We like that viewer technical term, flavour developing.
I've not really given the opportunity to yet. I haven't smoked enough of it.
No.
But it's a very smooth, sweet cigar, just how I like them. Very cool smoke due to its length, despite its slender gauge. And the most unique of the UK regional editions. Certainly the slimmest.
And I mean, mine is a slight trifle underfilled, which I actually like.
You like that, don't you? You like that?
I like to be able to roll them into a ball and then still sort of unroll them.
Yeah.
You know, you want that, the portability is what I...
But we smoked this before, haven't we? We smoked this before,
and the viewer, no doubt, is now conversant with the entire back catalogue of our broadcast, or boxed sets, as I believe it is fashionable to call them.
I had someone ask me what watch I was wearing in season 2, episode 12 at minute 2.
That was I remember that very well. That was the Richard Mille used to go skateboarding in.
That was the one.
As a child.
Yeah, that was the one. What was it? But it doesn't look a thing like the new ones, do?
No. I think it was made for Le Mans Classique. That's a valuable heirloom.
A fraction of the
cost, but a million times the variety.
Yeah, it's the best. It's the best.
But anyway, the Emperor of Japan.
Yeah. No doubt wearing a watch not dissimilar.
No doubt wearing the ancestral watch of the whatever the throne is called there. Anyway, whatever. He apparently his presence ensured our absence, as Gibbon would have said.
There probably wouldn't be enough room to smoke. The Japanese, they love to smoke.
Do they enjoy a cigar?
Maybe Cuban puros and huge collectors of Panda cigarettes as well.
Maybe Panda. That's the Chinese.
Sorry, pardon
that
me.
was Deng Xiaoping. He worked at the tractor factory when he was in interior exile during the Cultural Revolution. He was 10 years in the tractor factory. And he did enjoy a pack or two of Pandas. He was so good, Deng Xiaoping.
How do you know Deng Xiaoping?
I mean, through his love of Panda cigarettes, we bonded. I remember. I remember I was on a peace mission with Richard Nixon, and he was a young sort of official then. I obviously wasn't too involved with the discussions at high level because I was quite a young man myself. And Deng and I enjoyed a pack or two, a couple of packs of Panda cigarettes and a Rafael Gonzalez Slenderella, and we were the best of friends.
That's the one. The Slenderella, no doubt, more slender than the cigarette.
More slender than the Rella, one might say.
Slender than the Rella.
But this viewer is. We're going to sort of maybe take a break to allow the flavour to develop, but remind us, viewer, when we're back to discuss my appraisal of the accession ceremony of the Privy Council.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Fligging the mic. Okay. Well, and we're back. And what was our chief? What was the chief fact that we ascertained? Basically, that you can't have anything too strong to eat or drink with this cigar. Even the coffee, which wasn't even a Kopi Luwak. It was
I don't know what it was.
a straightforward Nespresso. It wasn't even a Kopi Luwak, viewer. It did, for a moment, overpower the gentle caress of the cigar against the palate.
Yeah, perhaps it's just the first third, though.
Well, we're not getting. I mean, there's such a the pusillanimous length of these broadcasts. That
Good word. Pusillanimous.
Yes, I mean, if this were Kirby Allison, we'd have 2 hours on this cigar and proper commentary throughout.
Rightfully so.
But we can't make that
I mean, we're
happen.
doing this cigar an injustice.
We're doing ourselves an injustice. We're doing the Torcedores of Havana injustice.
I mean, God save us.
But not as much of an injustice, viewer, as some of the some of the attendant lords, or whatever they're called, at the accession signing ceremony at the Privy Council. Did you see the chap who was wearing a button-down shirt with a morning coat?
Very stylish.
Could you imagine? I thought he was wearing flip-flops. I mean, honestly, they have an accession of a king, what, once a week, twice a week on a busy week? So obviously the shirt was at the laundry. I mean, for Christ's sake, probably once, certainly once in his lifetime. And the man's wearing a sort of, I mean, why not sort of wear a Hawaiian shirt and sort of flip-flops or a
I mean,
T-shirt.
having said that it happens a couple of weeks, Charles did exclaim that he hates it when his pen explodes every stinking time, meaning he must have signed a few of these.
Well, I think he was. I think he'd been round the country signing them in sort of every location. A bit like me signing my books at the Marbella Club this summer. I was signing quite a few, so you do tend to get a bit ink blind.
Yeah.
But also, the great thing was Mummy didn't have to sign my books. So therefore, she didn't have the distress that the Duchess of Cornwall is now the Queen Consort, as we must now refer to her, the Queen Consort experience when it went. What was a great line? Look, it's going everywhere.
It's going everywhere. And then I hate this bleeding thing.
Not bleeding, bloody.
Bleeding,
bloody. What bloody man is this? As they say in the Shakespeare.
They do, don't
they? They do. What bloody man is this?
They say that stuff quite a lot.
Yes,
That's great. But
out vile jelly, what you egg, young fry of treachery, and yes, it's all
all that stuff. What's that other great regional edition, which is very different but equally enjoyable? It's the Ramon Iones, the Petit Bellicosos from 2012. Do you remember we smoked that outside in the garden one time?
Yeah, that's surprisingly good.
That's a good cigar, that.
Yeah, that took us all by surprise, because I was expecting to be able to sort of...
But I think that was meant to be a good cigar in the first place, wasn't it? I just wasn't smoking at the time to experience it.
Well, I was just a bit worried that anything with Bolivar on it is a sort of...
It was Ramon.
Even worse, Ramon Iones. No, but that's quite good, because Ramon sometimes, especially selected sometimes, is actually quite a nice cigar.
The Ras, as they call it.
Why do they call it the Ras?
Ramon Iones specially selected. Ras. Business is cooling. I think the business has stopped cooling now.
That was one of the late orders coming in for a quick 20,000 words on the button. The viewer has obviously, in the middle of the broadcast, contacted the major news outlets to ask for up-to-date and in-depth analysis of the button-down shirt-wearing courtiers.
Which news are we talking about? We've got you covered. We've got this covered.
Oh yes, viewer. We before going on there, we corroborated this story of
Lad Bible.
We took, as I like to advise the son of Foulkes and Sons and the other son of Foulkes and Sons behind the camera, that when using information procured on His Majesty's internet, it is advisable to cross-reference it with another source of authority. So you started with the London Economic.
Then we went on to
Lad's Bible.
And then we got this covered. Then it was
we got this covered. Yes,
Hollywood Life or something.
And then did you go on to the Lad's Bible?
Us News.
That's probably US News.
And we went to the Daily Mail. No, it's Us, as in all of Us News.
So it's copper bottom 24 karat truth.
Exactly.
As it appears on We've Got This Covered.
We've Got This Covered. It's the best one. One of the first to come up as well.
I'm going to
a reputable news station.
I'm going to subscribe to We've Got This Covered. I'm surprised they haven't sponsored our broadcast already.
I know.
What we should do is like they do in America. Do you know when they do, they have bands of figures moving across the bottom and then graphs up the side, with share prices and news.
That's important, though.
But we need to have news along the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
But sort of cigar-related news. Constant news.
Yeah.
And then sort of constant news
So
of rising cigar prices. And then sort of graphs, flavor profiles up the side.
I mean, having said that, let's talk about La Reina and what it's worth now. Probably, I would have thought quite a bit more than...
what it was when we set fire to it.
Yeah. I mean, it's. I think it's something like 80, 90 pounds
a stick.
Yeah, perhaps more. I mean,
well, it's certainly more now that we are promoting the hell out of it. I mean, honestly, viewer, you'd think we had 20 or 30 boxes stashed behind this portrait of Her Majesty. No,
we had to call on.
No, we had to get Edward to lend us. We've got to give these back.
And he's packing to go to Nice or something.
We can't. I mean, Edward should not be allowed to leave the country. He must be on. I mean, he is a national treasure. I mean, it's like the ravens leaving the Tower of London.
Well, they can't. They've had their wings clipped.
Have they?
Unless they walked away. But
they might stroll off. I mean, you never know. They're quite sort of, quite keen on a sort of little perambulation. Those things.
We saw while you were recovering from an ailment, we saw the Queen pass through Shepherd's Bush on the A40.
And you saw a former neighbour of ours enjoying
a joint and a beer,
the invigorating qualities of a super strength lager and a marijuana cigarette of the finest, the finest. Was it the finest skunk variety?
Probably, yeah. I would have thought so. Maybe Amnesia Haze.
Amnesia.
Cheese.
What's that?
What was that one you used to have when you were pigskin? Wasn't that a drug when you were young?
I forget.
Pig fat or something.
I forget what the drugs were.
Do? Smoke it, drink it, inject it. I don't understand.
It came in patch form. We could slap it on. It came as an ointment.
Pigskin. Pigskin. Pig fat.
Yeah,
I remember you told me that. Mate, don't do drugs, especially pigskin.
No, pigskin was a big problem with the youth of the 1980s. I think it came out at around about the time of snowflake jeans and shell suits and handbrake turns. Anyway, viewer,
handbrake turns.
You know handbrake turns and hot hatches.
Yeah, hot hatches. Yeah, that's the one.
Well, viewer, on this somber national moment, we have Her late Majesty, and also this rather wonderful Felix Topolsky that you can't quite see but may see later on another time, of her husband. And they will be deeply missed. And now, joining with us in the new words that we must remember, God save the King.
And we will see you, I suppose, in the not too distant future.